If you take only one thing away from this video, let it be this. Accidents will happen. They are 100% your fault. They're not the pup's fault. Always your fault. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the scenario. Doesn't matter that you just took them out. Doesn't matter that you took them out for 3 hours and they decided not to go and you take them in and they have an accident. Doesn't matter. It's all your fault. Accept that. It'll make life a whole lot easier. Yeah, I know, you got Precious. Oh, you got the comms now? You got the licks? All right, we'll go. Run the intro. Gotta try to do this quick before you start hearing that storm coming. In today's video, we are going to discuss how to pee and potty train your pup at home, how we did it, how to prepare, basic principles to prevent accidents, what to do if and when accidents happen, because they're gonna happen, and number 4, nighttime potty, because it is its own section. You not being as crazy this time? No, he was crazy on take 1. Before we get into the 4 main parts of the potty training, I wanna go over some quick, broad tips, just so you're aware. The first being that, generally speaking, they can hold it for 1 hour per 1 month old. So you figure that you're not gonna get a puppy from a breeder unless they're at least 8 to 10 weeks, hopefully. So you assume they're about 2 months old, they can hold it for about 2 hours. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't, some won't go longer or less, but that's kind of a general thing, especially if you're going to leave the house, leave them in their crate, know that you have about a 2-hour window. Routine is super important, which we're gonna talk about more here in a moment, but no matter what the routine is, you always wanna go out as soon as they wake up. So it doesn't matter if that's the morning, doesn't matter if they took a 5-minute power nap, whatever. When they wake up, it's best to just take them out right away. Also, anytime they finish eating, that's more about helping build the routine, but anytime they finish eating, take them out. And if you're inside playing around with them, doing stuff for a little while, and you're gonna kind of bring that to a stop, take them out the potty first. Now you'll notice that I always say, take them out the potty. I never say use puppy pads, because you should not use puppy pads. It's just not a good idea. It's setting the wrong precedent that it's ever okay to go inside the house, which it is not. I made a video going over potty training before, and on this video, I need to bring up a point that I didn't in that one, because apparently it's a question that I get asked more often than I should, and that is no, you cannot use a litter box. Not now, not ever. Right up there with puppy pads. Even worse, actually. All right, now that we got some quick basics out of the way, let's get into part number 1, which is how you can plan and prepare. We do this for 2 reasons. Consistency like this is super helpful for them. Time is of the essence. I bet if I had 10 accidents with them, 8 of them were because I deviated from the plan. That is why I stress having extra leashes, extra bags, all that good stuff by the door, which we'll talk about in a second. So when I say I have a plan, I mean choose a door. So always go to the same door if you can. If your house has multiple doors that you go out, pick one. That way you're always going out the same door, so they start to learn that. And it allows you to always go to the same part of the yard. You want to do this so that they know where they're supposed to go, and you can also control it. Chances are this part of your yard is going to take a beating, so pick where you want that beating to go. Also, you want to have a potty kit or a potty bag. I'll show you ours in a second, but basically, if you can, I would suggest having a set amount of items just for going potty. That way, they're always there and you can always grab them and go. The deviations were always the problem. It was that few seconds that I had to look for my shoes, or the few seconds that I couldn't find his leash or his collar or something like that, something silly, that made the difference. The third part of this is consistency. So this is where you want to be like Sheldon.
How do you know I'm not using the facilities?
Because you email me your bathroom schedule once a week, even though I've clicked unsubscribe 1,000 times.
You want to have a very specific bathroom regimen with them. This is very helpful. 1, it prevents accidents. They know when to expect it. 2, it helps you plan. You know, they're gonna take up a huge amount of your life. You want it to be at least somewhat manageable so you can predict when you're gonna be free and when you're not. If you know you feed them lunch every day at noon and you take them out every day right after, so 12:15, 12:20, and then you put them in their crate for a nap, you've got 2 hours essentially of where they should be good to not have any accidents. You know that from 12:30 to 2:30, if you need to run errands or something like that, that's a good time to do it, or whatever. That's what I mean when I say that planning it's not just beneficial for them, it's also beneficial for you. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little demonstration. All right, need to go potty? All right, so we come here, we got our special leash and collar all ready to go. We can put those on, we're good. and then straight out the door, grab our bags as we go. Now, the reason I suggest having a separate leash and collar and everything just for that is because with puppies, you don't have much time. And what you don't want to happen is they're wearing their collar and you take it off because maybe they've gone to sleep or something, or you're brushing it, whatever, and you set it down and you just forget. And then they take a nap, they wake up from their nap and you're like, oh gosh, gotta take them out real quick. And it's like, where's their collar? Where's their leash? You don't want any of that stuff, because otherwise it's go outside without them or risk them having an accident. And trust me, they will have an accident. Now, while this isn't necessarily a pretty sight of lawn, it's better to have one designated area than to let them go everywhere. They will generally do that on their own, but as a puppy, they're on a leash. Take them to the same area wherever you want that to be so that you can pick where that area is gonna be. Now, some of the things that you're going to want to have with you, obviously a leash, a collar. I would suggest maybe an umbrella, even keep a dedicated pair of shoes or sandals right there so you don't have to look for them. They will have an accident while you're looking for them. Poop bags, treats. Treats are super important. You always want to have them. If you take them out and they go potty and you don't have treats and you go back inside and then give them a treat, it's not the same effect. They don't correlate those the same way. You need to be able to give it to them immediately. Now, we didn't have this bag back then, obviously. We just got this recently. But if you want to use this bag, it's a specially lined bag. You can actually put their poop bags in here. It's great for when you're on walks. There is a link in the description below where you can get 20% off with the code. I believe the code is Enzo and Lotus, but I'll put it on the screen. But have a system, have a dedicated leash, a dedicated collar, a dedicated umbrella, dedicated shoes. Almost every time they had an accident, it's because I was looking for something or I got delayed doing something. It was always a delay. We should have already been out there, but something delayed us, and it was almost always trying to find something. So don't let that happen. Part 2, basic principles to prevent accidents. If we were to get another puppy today, this is what I would do. Now, this whole video is explaining things that I've done, and most of the things I'm about to tell you were the things that I did back then. But it's also going to include, in retrospect, having done it twice now, you're always kind of tweaking things and thinking about things. So as I was writing this is exactly how I would do it today. Now, the important thing to keep in mind is as they age and mature, you can alter these rules. In the beginning, you need to be super vigilant. And as time progresses and they become more trustworthy and you feel that they're less and less likely to have an accident, that's when you can expand this out a little bit. Just keep in mind that if you start to expand it out a little bit or relax the rules a little bit and they have an accident, well, just bring it back. You don't want to keep doing that, but don't freak out if you decide to expand their freedom in the house and they immediately have an accident. Okay, well, maybe they're not ready, so maybe we wait another couple weeks. Don't try again like the next day. Give them some time. So we already mentioned this, but anytime they eat, go outside. Anytime they wake up, go outside. Anytime you get done playing indoors. So if we're running around in the basement here and we stop, we want to go outside. The reason for that one is, you're running around, they're being all excited. In the midst of doing that, they just kind of collapse and go to sleep. They're like, now I'm done, I'm going to sleep. I would keep an eye on them, but that's fine. But what often will happen is you'll be like, okay, we're done playing or whatever. And so they'll be kind of wandering around. That's the danger zone.
Seriously, Lana, call Kenny Loggins because you're in the danger zone.
If you stop playing and they immediately lay down and go to sleep, well, that's fine. That's why it's safer to just take them outside the minute you get done playing. That way they're not wandering around, because if you let them wander, even in that one little room, they will have an accident. Dogs are den animals. So they don't want to go in their den. They don't want to go where they sleep, where they eat, things like that. That's why it is super important to give them one room. Now, if you're one of these people that live in some 6,000 whatever square foot house and your one room is 1,000 square feet, you need to make that smaller. Get some baby gates or whatever. If you've seen our basement is decent size. With Enzo, we were never down here really. But with Lotus, we had kind of converted this a little bit to, I use this a little bit more in the summer. This was too much space for him. I had to severely limit it, actually multiple times. The first time I limited it and he had an accident, I was like, okay, we got to go even smaller. So we had not even 1/4 of this space down here. And then I slowly gave him a little bit more space. With Enzo, we were limited to just our living room. And then we slowly expanded it to where we let him go in the kitchen and the dining room, and then eventually the whole house. I will add to that though, it's okay if you need to move them to a different room temporarily or something. Or for example, with Enzo, you know, we kept him in the living room, but then when we would go to bed, we would take him in there. Usually he's right into his crate, but you know, if we had him out right there, that was okay. We just, you know, you're keeping a super close eye on them. You kind of got to use your judgment on that. Also, if you're single, like by yourself, or maybe you're just home alone, whatever, and you're like, well, I need to make dinner or something. Those are the scenarios where I would just bring them in their crate in the kitchen. You know, if you want to keep an eye on them, you don't want to have them in the other room. I wouldn't even block off a portion of the kitchen though, because you're focused on cooking, you're not paying attention. That's when accidents happen. Bring them in the kitchen, sure, but in their crate. That's always kind of like the safety thing too, because they don't want to have accidents in their crate. So as long as you're following that 1 hour per month thing, you should be pretty safe on that. If you want to get them a larger crate, if you have a German Shepherd or a larger breed, make sure it's one that you can divide it so you can start smaller, because 8-week-old puppy in one of these massive crates is too much space. If they have to, they will go in the other side of the crate. So keep that in mind. In addition to blocking off said rooms, if you have rugs down, pull those up, obviously. You don't want them to have an accident on your rug. There's no reason for that. Just pull them up. That way they don't have accidents. They don't chew on them, anything like that. If your one room has like really nice carpet, I would maybe even considering like going to IKEA or something, buying like a cheap rug, and for the next few months laying that over the area they're gonna be. That way if they do end up having an accident, I'd much rather clean a rug than try to clean my carpet. And then once I get them to a point where I know they're potty trained, just throw the rug away. You know, you're the one that agitates him. You're the one that gives them to him. You know, he's sitting there being a good boy, and then you come up and you drop your ball just because you want to agitate. And then when he doesn't want to play, but he also doesn't want to give it back, then you cry about it. Because you cry. Okay, what to do if and when accidents happen, because they're gonna happen. It's okay. Like, just know that one, it's your fault, and two, that we're gonna get through this. First, if you catch it mid-act, so if you catch them in the middle of having said accident, you can yell like no. You don't wanna scream, you don't wanna scare them, but you wanna get their attention. So you can yell no, or maybe even clap your hands. You just wanna get their attention enough to where they hopefully stop. And then you pick them up, carry them out, place them outside where you want them to go. If they keep going, it's business as usual. You say good boy, good girl, whatever, you know, you pet them afterwards, you give them a snack. They did everything phenomenal. You forget the accident ever even happened. If you carry them out there and there's no more to go, they don't go, then there's no praise or anything. You just missed it at that point. Move on. The second type of accident, those are the fun ones. Those are the ones that you get to find later on because you weren't paying attention. And so you come upon one of these. It's important that you cannot punish them for an accident. First of all, it's not their fault. Second of all, they don't understand that. So this whole like rub their nose in it or hit them or anything crazy like that, no, absolutely not. You messed up, clean it up, and you need to clean it really, really well. If you have like hardwood or anything, this is great because you can wipe it up and get rid of it. Honestly, even if it's hardwood, like we have hardwood, and what I would do is I would clean it up and then I would still kind of block that particular section off, put a chair over it or something, because they have insanely good senses of smell. And if they smell where they've gone before, they are more likely to go there again. That's why a lot of these special like cleaners that you'll see marketed for that stuff will try to cover up the smell, or, you know, just clean it really well like I would do, and then just block it off for a day or two so that they can't get to that particular spot. Because if they're roaming around your living room and they smell that spot again, they might be more inclined to go again. So to recap, if you catch it mid-accident, you can clap or you can yell no, you're not screaming or anything like that. Carry them outside. Hopefully they continue to go. You can praise them, so forth. If they don't, you don't praise them. If you find it after the fact, clean it up the best you can. In both scenarios, clean it up the best you can, clean it up way better than the best you can, and then consider even blocking that area off. And just remember that at the end of the day, it was your fault. You going to tell them about the nighttime potties? Yeah. I'm going to tell them about the nighttime potties. All right, nighttime potty is our last section because it deserves its own section. We want to restrict water, and really food for that matter, for the last 2 hours prior to going to bed. So if you're gonna put them in their crate to go to bed at 9 p.m., 7 p.m., you need to do a cutoff. Make sure that they get a drink then, but you need to do a cutoff. I would try to keep them engaged at this time, because ideally you don't want them falling asleep. I wouldn't, like if they're just exhausted and stuff, like don't fight them on it. But if you can kind of play with them and stuff around the house, you know, like in your living room, whatever, I would do it. Keep in mind, you also don't want to do so much that they get thirsty. You just want to keep them engaged a little bit. When you are going to go to bed, so 9 p.m. comes, you're going to go to bed, you want to take them out just like you normally would. Take them out how you would do your normal potty break, good boy, good girl, whatever. You want to come in. I should say that just like any potty break, the nighttime can be the worst if they don't go. Any potty break that they don't go is a problem for you because it'll interrupt your schedule. But I can remember some pretty rough nighttime potty breaks, especially with Enzo. Yeah, you were a cricket. You were obsessed with the crickets and you got slobber on your head. He was obsessed with crickets. We'd try to go out and I'm trying to get him to focus on going potty and he wants to chase crickets. Very annoying. You got to do it though. You can't just be like, oh, forget it, we're just gonna go to bed. No, it doesn't work that way. Let's talk about the middle of the night. As I mentioned prior, for every month, they can go about an hour. Now, sometimes they will sleep for several hours and it's no problem. But if they wake up, they need to go immediately, especially in the middle of the night, because often they're gonna sleep more than a couple hours. So if you have an 8, 10-week-old puppy, you put them in the crate around 9, they're not gonna fall asleep right away, but you know, when they fall asleep, they may sleep till 1, 2 o'clock. At that point, you know, you're 4 or 5 hours. They really need to go when they wake up. So you have two options. If you're a super light sleeper, you can let them wake you up. You hear them stirring, you wake up, get up, take them out immediately. If you're not a super light sleeper, i.e. like me, probably should just set an alarm. Now, some people will say, well, that creates a bad habit. Maybe they were going to sleep through it. Now you're creating this expectation to go in the middle of the night. Yeah, that is a small risk, but frankly, the risk of them having an accident is far larger. I'll take the small risk of them thinking we're going to go potty every night in the middle of the night. Now, I've mentioned this several times, but this nighttime potty is the most important. If you've decided to ignore my advice about going straight to potty on all the other times during the day, please don't ignore it here because this is where you will have problems. Whether you set an alarm or you let them wake you up, whatever the thing is, when you get up, it needs to be quick because when you get up, they're immediately then going to be up. And so then that pressure to go to the bathroom for them is immediately more intense. What I would do is I would go to their crate, unlock them, and pick them up. Do not let them walk and follow you. They will have an accident. Pick them up, take them straight to the door. This is where like sandals or shoes right there is great. Grab the leash and collar as you're going out the door. Don't even wait, like just grab it as you're going or just do it real quick. Or if they sleep with their collar on, put the leash on real quick. I'm not a big fan of them sleeping with collars on, but when they're puppies, I tend to leave their collars on a little bit more than I would normally. Get them out there as quick as possible. Do not stop, do not pass go, do not deviate. If you deviate for 1 second, if you get to the door and you realize your shoes are missing, go barefoot. If you get to the door and you realize it's pouring down rain, get wet. If you get to the door and you realize you don't have a leash and collar, depending on where you live, I might just risk it because they are gonna, if you set them down, they will pee. That's a fact. Puppy 101, like it's required by law. They have to have an accident right there the minute their paws touch the ground. So once you pick them up, they're staying in your arms. And even then, you only got so much time. Do not deviate. That's the same for the morning one, FYI. Anytime there's just especially long gaps, pick them up straight outside. The other benefit to you carrying them is I would also carry them back in, to be honest, because even if their crate is like right by the door, I would just pick, after they go, I would just pick them up and carry them. You do not want them thinking this is some sort of social event. Now, once they go, good boy, good girl, you can pat them on the head and like, that's perfectly fine, but that's it. We're not playing any games. They're not gonna check something out. You're not gonna let them sniff around. This whole process should take literally like a minute or two, depending on how far you gotta walk. Maybe if you live in like an apartment or something. Carry them straight out, they go, pick good boy, good girl. You can give them a snack if you want, like a little one, but I honestly wouldn't even worry about that too much. But good boy, good girl, pat them, pick them up, carry them back in, place them right back in their crate, lock the door. If you have like a blanket over it or whatever, pull that back down and then straight back to bed for you too. You do not want them thinking that this is a social event. That will help mitigate any issues there. I didn't have any issues with either of them and this is the way I did it. You think they got it? You think that is all the tips? Anything you need to add? Well, no, I don't know what Precious would have to do with potty training. Oh, it would motivate you better? Well, had I known, I guess. I don't think you ever got your first Precious till you were at least like a year old almost. What are you doing with that tail wag, huh? Is this what you want? Oh, the Precious. Oh, the Precious. Oh, be gentle. Oh, that's so gentle. Yeah. That's gonna do it for this video on potty training. I hope you guys got some usefulness out of it. Go back, rewatch it if you need, if this is your first puppy, if you're getting one. Like I said, it's not going to stop an accident from ever happening. We had accidents, but I bet I could certainly count on both hands. I might even be able to count on one hand with each pup the number of accidents we had. I could like predict when they would happen. Like I remember one particular morning when I got up, for whatever reason, even though I say like take them right out, with Enzo, I deviated for just a second one day. We'd had him for a few weeks. He was doing really well. I thought, oh, it'll be okay if I just go to the kitchen real quick. No, it was not okay. Had an accident, my fault. I didn't get to a point where I felt safe with them and would consider them potty trained until weeks had gone by with no accidents. Definitely don't let up. Be very vigilant with these steps, with these rules, and with the routines. Otherwise, appreciate you guys as always. Subscribe for more German Shepherd content, more vlogs with these boys. Of course, Lotus. And we're trying to Thank you to all the Patreons that you see scrolling on the screen right now. Appreciate you guys. Everybody who watches, who subscribes, who likes, who comments, I appreciate all of you. And we'll see you on the next one. Later. Well, we just come here. We got everything we need right here. We can put it on real quick. Thanks for being my demo pup. Yeah. Except apparently I can't put a collar on properly. Wow. I seriously messed that up, didn't I? Sorry, buddy. Okay. What just happened here? If you take only one thing away from this video, make it be this. I'm trying to tell him.